when the world is in crisis
การแก้ไขปัญหาโควิดถือเป็นวาระแห่งชาติ
and people are looking for hope and answers. Thai PBS World is there with you with the best minds of the day. Join us on Thai PBS World tonight, every weekdays at 7 p.m. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world.
สวัสดีค่ะ Very good evening. Welcome to our 7 o'clock news. Thai PBS World tonight. I am Natha Gomonwadin.
And good evening, I'm Thep Chayong. With a looming cabinet reshuffle, we can be certain that in the next few days or even next few weeks, politics will be stealing more headlines from the COVID-19 situation, which has been dominating the Thai media for the past few months.
Yes, but at least we still have to keep updated with COVID-19. Today is 4 new cases and all are returnees and those who stay in state quarantine. So it means 52 consecutive days that we don't have local transmission.
That's right. Now let's start with politics. For the past few weeks, Thailand has been gripped by an air of uncertainty. But today, there is no more doubt that a cabinet reshuffle is in order. But there is still one big question. Will Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha be able to reshuffle the cabinet the way he sees fit? Or will he succumb to pressure from the ruling Palang Pracharat Party? After weeks of speculation, Deputy Prime Minister Somkid Jatusipitak and 3 other cabinet members in his team finally called it quits, paving the way for a long-anticipated cabinet reshuffle. It would be the first cabinet reshuffle under the Prime Minister Chan-o-cha since he came to power after the elections in March last year. The 3 other cabinet members are Finance Minister Uttama Sawanayon, Energy Minister Sontirat Sontijirawong, and Higher Education, Science and Innovations Minister Suvit Mesinsi. Also resigning is Deputy Secretary General of the Prime Minister's Office, Kopsak Putagun. The 4 announced their resignations, which took immediate effect at a press conference at the Government House this morning. However, Somkid was conspicuously absent from the press conference. In explaining their decision to resign, Uttama said they wanted to help the country move forward and dispel the long-running political uncertainty, which he said might be holding up the government's efforts to tackle critical issues facing the country. Uttama said their resignation should also help relieve political pressure on the Prime Minister. The outgoing Finance Minister was apparently referring to pressure from the new leadership of the ruling Palang Pracharat Party, which has been pressing the Prime Minister to reshuffle his cabinet. Sontirat, meanwhile, played down speculation that they were planning to set up a new political party. He also denied that they quit under pressure. He said they wanted to see a stable political situation so that all energy and attention would be mobilized to solve problems confronting the nation. We don't want politics to be an obstacle. That's what he told the press conference.
And now that Somkid and his team have decided to step aside, the next question is who will replace them? It's an open secret that some key members of Palang Pracharat Party have their eyes on the cabinet portfolios vacated by Somkid and his colleagues. But Prime Minister Prayut has tried to give an impression that he will have the final say on the new cabinet members. But if the Prime Minister can have his way, observers believe that he would pick outsider rather than politician in Palang Pracharat Party to fill the vacancies, which are key to implementing his economic revival package. In recent days, speculation has been rife in the media about potential successors to the outgoing cabinet members. Focus is on a well-known banker, a businessman, an energy expert, and a technocrat. Ridi Dao Chai, chairman of the Thai Bankers Association and president of Kasikorn Bank, is reported to be a front runner to succeed Uttama as finance minister. A graduate from Thammasat University, a graduate of Thammasat and University of Illinois, Brady spent most of his career life in the banking sector, mostly with Kasikorn Bank. He also served in the National Legislative Assembly, appointed by the military after the coup in 2014. And tipped to be the next energy minister is Pailin Chuchot Thawon, a well-known business who served as Chief Executive Officer of PTT Public Company Limited, the state-owned oil and gas company. He also served as Deputy Communication Minister in the Prayut government before the general elections. All eyes are also on Thosapon Siri Sampan, the current Secretary General of the National Economic and Social Development Board, who is reported to be tapped to replace Somkid as Deputy Prime Minister in charge of economic affairs. Sources said Thosapon, who is due to retire from the National Planning Agency in October, has been working closely with the government on the current economic revival programs. So that's people who potentially can be new finance minister.
And it has been reported that the Prime Minister has approaching these three, and among others, to take over the vacant portfolios. And of course, the question is, what did the Prime Minister have to say about the resignations of these four people who were so close to him? And today, speaking briefly to reporters while visiting Sisakhet province, he said it was a pity that these people left the government. And he admitted that he needed to reshuffle the cabinet out of political necessity. He didn't spell out what he meant by that. But he said he is in the process of approaching a number of potential candidates for the vacancies.
So it must be quite difficult decision to make. And today there is rumor of conversation between Prime Minister and Kun Somkid Jadusipitak Kuntepchai.
Of course, quite interesting because there have been reports in the Thai media that one thing that certainly played a part in prompting Somkid and the other three cabinet members to decide to resign was a lied message from the Prime Minister to Kun Somkid. And the Prime Minister was quoted as saying that he was feeling very bad. And he wanted to say something to Somkid, but couldn't say it in front of him.
Yeah.
So according to these reports, which have yet to be confirmed by the Prime Minister and Kun Somkid, Kun Somkid called back the Prime Minister and asked him what was going on. And then the Prime Minister was quoted as saying that I certainly need to reshuffle the cabinet for political reasons. And then Kun Somkid said, well, fine, I have no objection to that. So this morning we saw what happened. Right?
Yeah,
Somkid and three other cabinet members decided to submit their resignations.
Yeah. So if it's true, so it means amicable conversation and amicable departure between Kun Somkid and Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha.
Yeah. It's quite interesting to note that the three cabinet members and Kun Gopsak, who were at the press conference this morning, didn't have any bad things to say about the Palang Pracharat Party or the Prime Minister. They said they made their own decision to leave, and then they wanted to clear the path for the government to move forward.
Yeah.
So it was quite a very gentlemanly press conference for these four.
So in a way, it's quite breath of fresh air among politicians to see this kind of departure or separation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because in the past, whenever there was a breakup in the government or parties, there would be a criminous atmosphere. People would hurling accusations against one another, but it didn't happen this morning. So these four people deserve certainly a lot of praises for that.
Yeah, high spirit politician. But it's still intense over Rayong province, Kuntepchai, regarding the soldier who have been infected of COVID-19 in Rayong province.
There's still an air of anxiety in the province. But of course, despite the recent incidents that have sparked fears of a spread of the coronavirus, government authorities today express confidence that they are still able to have the situation under control. Of course, a spokesman of the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, Dr. Tavisin Visutyotin, certainly wanted to assure the public that the government is still fully in charge of the situation. But he admitted that there are still loopholes that need to be plugged to prevent a possible resurgence of the pandemic. For weeks, Dr. Thavisin was beaming with confidence as he reported the steady decline in the number of new infections in his daily news briefing. But today he was uncharacteristically apologetic while reporting on the fallout from the two recent incidents, which have raised up questions about the government's ability to deal with the pandemic.
กราบขอโทษกับพี่น้องประชาชน
Again, he offered an apology on behalf of the government and pledged to step up health safety measures to ensure that there will be no more slip-ups. And yet he also managed to deliver some positive news. Though people in Bangkok and Rayong might have been gripped by panic in the aftermath of the so-called Egyptian aircrew and Sudanese diplomat incidents, Dr. Thavisin said none of the 1,600 people who rushed to have COVID-19 tests because of it has been found to be infected. So nobody has been found to be infected yet because of these two incidents. But he emphasized that these people still need to be put under a 14-day observation to be sure that they are free of the deadly virus. And as we can see from this footage, there's still much anxiety among many people in the eastern province of Rayong. People continue to form a long queue in front of Lam Thong or Passion shopping mall in downtown Rayong for COVID-19 tests. Health authorities have been offering free medical tests for 3 consecutive days to help calm down fears of a contagion sparked by an Egyptian aircrew who made a stopover in the province last week. And one of the aircrew members tested positive for the coronavirus and yet managed to skip out of the hotel to visit a shopping mall.
And as of Tuesday, as many as 1,333 people in Rayong underwent coronavirus tests. These people said they had been at the hotel where the Egyptians stayed or at one of the shopping malls they visited. They all tested negative. On Wednesday, samples were taken from another 1,252 people in Rayong and test results should be known today. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha visited the province on Wednesday to personally assure the local people that the government is taking all necessary measures to deal with the fallout from the incident. Many residents said they feel reassured by the Prime Minister's visit. The main fresh market in downtown Rayong reopened today, but there were only a handful of visitors. Lam Thong or Passion shopping mall, which was the focus of the Egyptian aircrew incident, also reopened but managed to attract only few shoppers. Tourism businesses operators also continue to report a drastic drop in number of hotel reservations. In Bangkok, Dr. Thavisin said 267 people have sought medical tests out of fear that they could be exposed to the virus after the 9-year-old daughter of a Sudanese diplomat confined to a condominium in Sukhumvit area tested positive for COVID-19. They were mostly people who live at the one condominium. Dr. Thavisin also dismissed as fake news a rumor quoting Prime Minister Prayut as saying that he would consider reimposing curfew if the COVID-19 situation worsens in the next 7 days.
You know, the two incidents have triggered a new round of rumors and speculation. And what Dr. Thavisin referred to today was one of them, quoting the Prime Minister as saying that he would watch the situation for the next 7 days. If things did not improve, then he would reimpose the curfew. So the rumor was quickly dismissed by Dr. Thavisin as fake news.
Yeah.
And the two incidents, of course, have cast doubts on the government's plan to reopen the country to foreigners. There was a question today raised with Dr. Thavisin during the press conference on whether or not the medical and wellness tourism program will go ahead. This was planned to to take place starting next month, right? The Thai government plans to start allowing foreigners seeking medical treatments and wellness services starting in August as part of the efforts to revitalize the tourism industry and the economy. Of course, the answer from Dr. Tevisin today is that the health and wellness tourism program will go ahead, but will be closely monitored. And of course, another question is about this much talk about issue, that is the travel bubble arrangement. And this is something that a lot of authorities now raising question whether or not this is still ongoing or not, because there have been suggestions that the program, the travel bubble arrangement program, should be put on hold until we are certain that we can set our house in order.
Yes, right now the public has been monitoring the policy very closely, and it seems Thai public do not want to encourage foreign visitors to visit Thailand at this very juncture, especially after the case of soldier from Egypt who has been infected with COVID-19. And Kun Thepchai, yesterday was quite a big day for Thai PBS.
Yes, it was, certainly was, yeah.
Yes, because this time of the year, that management level of the Thai PBS has to go through examination and to report directly at the parliament. And yesterday we saw our managing director of Thai PBS, Dr. Vilasini Pipitgun, has told MPs about what Thai PBS has done, what Thai PBS did, especially in last year. Yesterday, members of the Thai Parliament examined how Thai PBS did their mission in the past year after going through annual report of 2019. And Managing Director of the Thai PBS, Dr. Vilasini Pipitgun, responds to questions raised from MPs. The first one, Ong Aat Klam Phaiboon, MP from the Democrat Party, said that the Thai PBS should be careful in management and make it updated with changes in society. He said the Thai PBS should maintain its role as impartial media to try to solve problems for Thai people. And also Thai PBS should try to hold the power accountable for the public interests. He said Thai PBS should focus on corruption and how to fight it, which is a major trouble for Thai society. And he also voiced concern on social inequality. Sathit Wong Nong Tey, another MP from the Democrat Party, raised the issue of budget allocation for ALTV, a new brainchild project of the Thai PBS, which was launched on the 1st of July. Sathit asked how Thai PBS will be coping with the new channel in terms of budget and human resources. He said Thai PBS has a limited budget, so how the media organization like Thai PBS will handle it. Dr. Vilasini, MD of the Thai PBS, responded that the organization did not increase human resources at all for the project, and that can explain why the Thai PBS can be able to do it. She said, we manage under the existing budget. Rather, we see the importance of investment on content, and mostly ALTV content is done by in-house production for 40%. And Thai PBS use existing media but reproduce it, and also having 10% of content from other countries, and also hire outsourced team to do certain amount of content for ALTV. And this will pave the way for an independent production team to join Thai PBS in the near future.
Okay.
The MD makes emphasis on the role of the Thai PBS, especially during the crisis, that Thai PBS also gives importance to examining fake news, and Thai PBS try to collaborate with other sectors in society. So that's what the MD reported to the Parliament yesterday.
Thai PBS is the public broadcaster in Thailand, and it has the obligation to report its performance financial statement to the Parliament annually. And of course, it's also obliged to submit annual report to the Cabinet, because these are considered to be part of the mechanism that keep the Thai PBS in check and to make sure that we follow the rules and regulations strictly. So we received both bouquets and some brickbats yesterday from the MPs, right? It's quite normal because we have been doing this for 10 years. So we don't expect everyone to like us, despite the fact that we have been trying our best to perform our duty as a public broadcaster, reporting events factually, objectively, and producing and presenting programs that are educational and held in speaking things on behalf of the society. And this is the basic obligation of the public broadcaster like Thai PBS.
Yeah. So in a way, Thai PBS has the role to scrutinize and to have checks and balance in Thai society. But on the other hand, we have checks and balance on the way Thai PBS has been operating, has been functioning as well. And this is the mechanism that go through the parliament.
And of course, your comments, your views are also considered to be part of the mechanisms that sort of keep us in check and to remind us of how well or how badly we perform.
Yes. So it's like meeting with MPs every year happen annually. And talking about how media work, right now another spotlight around the world has been on social media like Twitter, because so suddenly it has been hacked, especially on public profile accounts like Elon Musk, President Obama, and even Bill Gates. And Kunat Bunak has this story for us. So what's really coming up with Twitter, Kunat?
I will first ask you a question first. How often do you see leaders using Twitter to say, oh, we're asking for donations from the followers? How often do we get these responses?
Hardly. No, the first thing you have to think is that something is wrong with this.
Exactly, because if you've seen tweets from those people asking you to send in Bitcoin, this is definitely a big alarm bell here, because you will know exactly that these accounts have been hacked. The big names, just like how you mentioned earlier, that there are many people who became a victim of the scam is Barack Obama, the former president of the US, Joe Biden, who is the former vice president as well, Elon Musk, Kanye West, including his wife Kim Kardashian, also got hacked as well, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, and Bill Gates.
Yeah, very high profile people.
Yes, very high profile people, and these are prominent figures in politics and business with millions and millions of followers on their official Twitter accounts. So this is definitely a big hacking spree that we've never seen before. And based on the records that were publicly available, the blockchain records, right? The apparent scammers received more than 100,000 US dollars worth of cryptocurrency.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the trick did work to some extent anyway, right?
It did work, but then it did shock a lot of people, especially followers of these prominent people here, because like we said earlier, it is completely unexpected for these leaders and these prominent figures to be asking you money, asking donations, especially with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one of the most common cryptocurrencies here. And to see that it's definitely telling you that there's something wrong with this account, with their accounts. So we know that their accounts have been hacked for sure, but it also reminds us that Twitter has failed to keep up with their cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's right. It means that cybersecurity has been compromised. So what's the reaction from Twitter management?
Okay, Twitter has tried to explain the situation, saying that it was a coordinated attack targeting its employees with access to internal system and tools, and the hackers then used this access to take control of many highly visible, including verified accounts, and tweet on their behalf. So that means if they manage to to hack the system and then use the verified accounts such as accounts of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, all these people, and they tweet on behalf of these accounts. Twitter also stated that they've been looking into what other malicious activity they may have conducted or information they may have accessed. Such statement from Twitter is enough for experts, security experts, to fear that the service has been compromised. But it's the service, not the users of Twitter. But at the end, many of the verified accounts started to be able to send tweets again after Twitter has silenced some of its high-profile users in response to the security issue.
So any reactions from some of these big names?
Not yet, but we did hear some from the experts. The incident, of course, it definitely raised a lot of questions about Twitter's cybersecurity, especially that the US elections are coming up at the end of this year, and many political candidates use Twitter as a communication platform, including President Donald Trump as well. Many of the experts said that Twitter is not doing enough to protect itself. And they also felt that this mass hijack that we've been seeing just a day ago, it's already a bad situation, but they also expect that it will be even worse on the 3rd of November, which is when the presidential elections will take place. And the bigger challenge for Twitter here is not only the security breach now, but it's their reputation, which has already been damaged from this incident.
But obviously, Twitter account of President Trump wasn't hacked.
Okay, that's a little bit surprising here because all of the, based on the names I have here, whether it's former President Obama, Joe Biden, all these people, most of them from the Democrats.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe he was too busy, tweeting things that didn't allow any opportunity for anyone to hack it.
Okay, that's a very good point here. Very good point here. It's maybe people may have noticed that most of these accounts are from the Democrats, not really from the Republicans. But there's one thing that we can be sure about. There's one account that we can be sure that he has not been hacked for sure. It's Mike Pompeo with the photo. If we have a photo here, it's there's a picture of his doggy with
Mercer. The name of the dog is Mercer.
Yes, Mercer the dog. Actually, so Mike Pompeo has posted a photo of his little dog with Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh, but a toy version of it, not really the cartoon. But it may seem like the photo may seem innocuous, but the netizens have been thinking that whether it has some sort of hidden agenda behind the photo, because Winnie the Pooh has always been a symbol of Xi Jinping. Like what you're seeing right here, that's Mercer the dog with Winnie the Pooh, and there's also an elephant here. So there have been netizens trying to critique the photo here.
Hidden message in the picture.
Yes, exactly. The hidden message behind it, whether Mr. Pompeo is trying to jab against China with the recent situation here, especially like how yesterday President Trump has decided to strip the preferential treatment for Hong Kong because of the new security law in Hong Kong. So maybe that would be the hidden message. Intentional
or unintentional that the netizen, especially in China, raised the issue. But the thing is, they cannot really mention the word poo directly.
Exactly, because
in social media in China.
Yes,
because the word has been censored.
Yes, it has been censored in China because Winnie the Pooh has always been a symbolic reference to President Xi Jinping. And when they found out that it has been used as a symbol, whether it's on social media or having comparison photos of Winnie the Pooh and Xi Jinping, or even if we all remember Winnie the Pooh and Tigger compared with Xi Jinping and Barack Obama, that has been a legendary social media photo. the Chinese government has decided to ban all these photos. And if we search for Winnie the Pooh on social media in China, it will come up with other search results, which has been approved by the Chinese government.
All right.
So the only one who can tell us whether it's intentional or unintentional is Mike Pompeo.
Exactly. And so far, there hasn't been a real explanation behind it, whether it really sends a message to China or it's just some sort of candid photo of Mercer the dog.
Yeah. And Mike Pompeo on Monday, he's on his way to the UK and Denmark to try to having more support for the US to ban Huawei equipment. So that means more confrontation atmosphere between the US and China at the moment. So to post that photo at this juncture, there's a lot of
I think it's
message.
definitely going to ignite more controversy here because the US and China has been heated, whether it's the trade war, the blame game on COVID-19, the South China Sea, or even recently with the new security law in Hong Kong, Huawei as well. So that photo is going to stir a lot of controversy online.
Yeah, lots of interpretation.
But I do like the photo though, it's really cute.
All right.
And Kunat, you also have other development.
Yes, and
Stories.
just so you know, these
Yeah.
are the stories we've also been following today. Thailand reported 4 new cases of COVID-19 today. All of them are now in state quarantine. The new cases came back from Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States. The CCSA spokesman also denied rumors that the government will impose a 24-hour curfew, stating that the Prime Minister has never said that before. A total of 1,603 people in Rayong and Bangkok Sukhumvit area has been tested negative of COVID-19 on the first day of mass testing. The swab tests were conducted on those who visited the Passion Mall in Rayong on the 10th of July, which was where the infected Egyptian soldier was at the time, including people living at a Sukhumvit condominium where the family of an African diplomat stayed. The Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand will release a new set of guidelines for transit flights, which now requires passengers to have medical certificates proving that they've been tested negative for COVID-19 prior to traveling, even if they're not leaving the aircraft during transit. The new guidelines are set to prevent airlines and charter flights getting blacklisted if passengers are found to be tested positive for the virus when they reach their final destination.
So it's still quite big challenge for Thailand and aviation industry when we can have travel bubble or allowing foreign visitors to visit the country.
Definitely.
And with the vaccine trial right now, more than 100 labs around the world are trying to develop vaccine to fight COVID-19. And there seems to be a good sign of one vaccine development from the US lab. This story has more details.
The first COVID-19 vaccine tested in the US revved up people's immune systems, just the way scientists had hoped. Researchers reported Tuesday as the shots are poised to begin key final testing. The vaccine developed by Fauci's colleagues at the National Institutes of Health and Moderna Incorporated will start its most important step around July the 27th. But Tuesday, researchers reported anxiously awaited findings from the first 45 volunteers who rolled up their sleeves back in March. Sure enough, the vaccine provided a hope for immune boost. Those early volunteers developed what are called neutralizing antibodies in their bloodstream at levels comparable to those found in people who survived COVID-19. The research team reported in the New England Journal of Medicine. The vaccine requires 2 doses a month apart. There were no serious side effects. But more than half the study, participants reported flu-like reactions to the shots that aren't uncommon with other vaccines. Fatigue, headache, chills, fever, and pain at the injection site. For 3 participants given the highest dose, those were more severe reactions. That dose isn't being pursued. Some of those reactions are similar to coronavirus symptoms, but they are temporary, lasting about a day and occur right after vaccination. Researchers noted.
Well, they're phase 1 studies, but it's a good first step. It looks as though the vaccine generated a vigorous immune response. We like that. We think that's going to be associated with protection. A couple of notes. This is a 2-dose vaccine. And there were some people who had sore arms and a little bit of fever and some fatigue, etc. Small price to pay for protection against COVID, I would think. So there's nothing there that would inhibit us from going on to larger trials, and they're currently underway.
Those data aren't public yet, but regulators are evaluating them, and Fauci said final testing will include older adults, as well as people with chronic health conditions that make them more vulnerable to the virus, and Black and Latino populations like whites affected. The first 30,000-person study will mark the world's largest study of the potential COVID-19 vaccine so far, and the NHI-developed shot isn't the only one set for such massive testing, crucial to spot rare side effects.
So that's the whole world is waiting for the success of vaccine trial to fight COVID-19. And the world economy is also dependent very much on vaccine as well. Not only global economy, but the Thai economy. And what would be the outlook of the Thai economy after COVID-19? Right now we have Dr. Girida Paupijit, Research Director for International Research and Advisory Service at TDRI, joining us live in the studio. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
So thank you for joining us. It looks like we are in Thailand. We are changing horse midstream, right? But today the economic team resigned, right, and paving the way for cabinet reshuffle. So how do you think this will affect the handling of the economy by the government?
Well,
Any
particular
concerns?
Yes, we're actually waiting to see who the new economic team will be, because that will be important for investors' confidence as well as the consumers' confidence as well. So I think we'll have to wait and see there. So that's another uncertainty in Thailand on top of the COVID-19.
That's right. Yeah. But how do you see the performance of the outgoing team? Did it do things okay?
Well, I think under these circumstances, that it's unprecedented. It's a health crisis that no one has foreseen before. The team that is outgoing at the moment has done what most other countries have done, which is to use its fiscal stimulus, which is government spending, in order to first help support those who are in need. I think my only concern would be the speed of the assistance in the beginning. So what usually happens in the beginning is that we try to help to support people who are in need, and then try to help them recover in the second phase. In the first phase of the assistance, they have done a decent job, but it might be a bit slow in terms of distributing money to the needed.
But what about the potential candidates for the vacancies? A banker, that Kun Prida, for example, the president of Kasikorn Bank, right, and chairman of the Thai Banker Association, and then Kun Pairin, right, a former CEO of PTT, and is being tipped as a potential successor to the outgoing energy minister. If these two are the real candidates, what is your opinion?
I mean, both candidates are very highly qualified and have extensive experience and knowledge in the business world. So I think, and also in the management. So I think they would instill confidence in both businesses and people when they come in. Well, hopefully they will take up, or one of them will take up the position, and I think they will be able to, to run the fiscal policies in the country well.
So what would be the urgent mission for the new economic minister to tackle urgently?
I think the urgent, agenda would still be how to support people amidst the COVID crisis at the moment, right? So, as I mentioned, in the first phase, it's to identify who's really affected and giving them assistance. It's like, we're in a deep health crisis. So first we need, sort of like an urgent medicine to keep them alive. Then in the second phase, I think, which is, what we are going to approach now, is how to help sustain that, because just by giving money, each month will not be enough, and the government will not have enough money to give all those who are affected by COVID every month. So I think the next phase would be how to sustain, this sort of support. And I think what will be important is how to get jobs for people rather than giving cash handouts, because jobs will be more sustainable. So I think the second phase, and would be the agenda of the incoming team, is that how to generate more jobs. So for example, giving money is one thing, but giving, for example, the tourism stimulus package, right, is actually giving money so that people will also spend more, right, so that there will be jobs created, in the tourism sector, which I think is a good program. But I think there needs to be more. There needs to be more demand stimulus in the country through job stimulation. So, for example, the government could, hire people to do jobs that are needed for the moment, but also good for the future. I'll give an example. For example, there's so many people. I think there was an estimate of 2 million people who have moved from the urban areas back to their provinces because of the lack of jobs in the urban areas due to the COVID-19 crisis. If we know that they're there and who they are, let's say, okay, now we need health workers, right, in the different villages. We could, the government could then, have jobs on, healthcare, for example, in the villages, which is good for the village and also provide jobs, for these people as well. Or if we know that in certain areas, maybe there are, technicians who were, laid off from factories and they're back in these villages, maybe we could have like a school improvement program, right, where technicians could go repair, electricity systems or water systems. So if we could generate jobs, in the different areas where people have migrated back, that would be a lot of benefit instead of just giving them cash handouts.
So it's very essential for the government program to really cater for local specific needs of each community.
Yes.
Not like top-down approach with the same program.
That's correct. That's correct. I think what they're now looking at the moment is to help those in the tourism sector, right, through the tourism stimulus package, which is fine. But I think there are also others who might not, be in the tourism sector, or they have moved back to their villages, which are not tourist destinations, right? So how do we stimulate jobs for them? But in addition to stimulating jobs, I also think that one should also be prepared or upskill, right, for the future, or even for this COVID period. For example, I would say if they've already moved back to their villages and we would like to give them jobs, but at the same time, maybe some of them, cannot really find jobs. Right? The government could say that, look, we're going to give you 5,000 baht handouts like we do each month, maybe for a month or two, but we would like you to also participate in our trainings for 2 or 3 weeks, for example, basic digital skills, which is essential for today and also for the future, for the post-COVID world as well, right? So that they have some new skills that they can find jobs, in the world today. But also it'll be important to position our people for the post-COVID world as well. For example, we know that in the post-COVID world, digitalization will be important, right? So digital skills are important, even basic ones. But also, for example, just give a quick example, tourism, right, will come back. But in the initial phases, tourists who will come back will be mostly regional tourists, those from China, from ASEAN, because in the post-COVID world, in the initial stages, tourism will be within the region before going out, and it saves money as well to travel in the region rather than traveling far away. So do expect more Chinese tourists coming in, for example, right? Because Chinese tourists would want to travel closer, and they would not want to travel to countries in the West that are against them. So do expect. So for example, I mean, if we were to upgrade skills now, maybe there could be a English or Chinese language program, right, for those in the villages. I mean, it's just some examples that I think could be usable in addition to just the cash handouts.
And the projects initiated by the government that you have seen so far, do you think they cover what we are talking about, especially in areas of job creation?
So far, I have not seen much in those areas at the moment, because I think at the moment the government is still in phase one, which is trying to support people through cash handouts first. They have not really entered the second phase, which I think would be important in the future. I mean, I see the 400 billion baht pot of money that has been allocated for different projects in the communities and villages. I hope to see more. I'm seeing some of the training programs being proposed as well in those. So hopefully there'll be more of those using the 400 billion baht rather than just building roads or digging wells.
No, there are pessimists who believe that, I mean, of course, the past quarter is bad enough already, right? But they believe the present quarter and the coming one will be even worse. Is that what your projection as well?
Actually, no. I think the worst has already passed, because the worst has to do with the lockdown, right? The lockdown means no economic activities are allowed, or very little economic activities are allowed. But in the third quarter, when we unlock the country, economic activities have then recovered. Of course, it's not the pre-COVID levels, but it's definitely better than the lockdown. So I think the lockdown was like the rock bottom, and we're now recovering from that. But it will take a long time before we go back to the pre-COVID levels.
The governor of Bank of Thailand, Kumila Thai, said it would take about 2 years for the country to fully recover. Is that what you see too?
I think it could be more than 2 years, actually, because when I look at the timeline of the vaccine development, the most advanced vaccine development at the moment will be probably out, if it's successful, in September next year. And this is by a company in the UK. And this vaccine will be able to cover immunity for 1 year. So it's effective for 1 year. This will be out September next year. So just imagine, this will be finished September next year. By the time it's manufactured, it's distributed. Of course, the big countries will get them first. The US, the European Union, China, Japan. By the time it gets to developing countries, it will probably be 2022. Right, 2022. And of course, once we get the vaccine and we vaccinated our people, it doesn't mean that the economy will rebound immediately back to pre-COVID levels. After struggling and suffering for 2.5 years, it will take time for companies and people to recover. So 2 years would be the minimum.
So that means the vaccine is the key to that.
Vaccine is the key. Exactly.
And as far as you can see, what's the shape of the economy, of the Thai economy? L shape, V shape, or U shape?
U shape, right? I mean, if I look at the level of the Thai economy, meaning the Thai, what we call GDP, gross domestic product, we were coming at, let's say, for example, we were coming at 100 before the COVID, right? We have dropped significantly. I mean, this year we could drop by 10%. So from 100, we have dropped to 90. And I would see, next year a recovery, maybe to 95, right? And then to 98. And by the time we get to 100, it could be 2 or 3 years from now. So it's going to be sort of a slanted V. It's not a sharp V. It's sort of a slanted V towards pre-COVID levels.
But at least we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. Which is why it's very important that at this moment we're not only focused at helping people who are affected by the COVID, but preparing them for the post-COVID recovery, because once the vaccine is found and people are back to being not afraid of each other, we can then quickly recover our economic activities. Right? We don't want to be in a situation where, when that time comes, we look back and nobody's ready because everybody's too weak to go on with their activities.
So it's long hibernation period for the Thai economy. But the sector which is badly hit is small and medium-sized business.
Yes.
What would be your recommendation? Because right now it's very difficult for them because having no liquidity at all.
It is definitely very difficult, and the sectors that are affected most is the tourism sector, and a lot of the companies in tourism sector are small and medium enterprises. So that's one group. But there's also other groups that are in the manufacturing sector, right, which are supply chains of car manufacturers, for example. There are also small and medium enterprises, car parts manufacturers. They're also pretty much affected as well. So I mean, this crisis is quite deep and wide. It affects many, many sectors. And we think a lot of the tourism sector, but actually it affects the manufacturing sector and the agriculture sector as well, actually, because more than half of agriculture incomes of agricultural households, more than half comes from non-agriculture activities. Because, farmers actually depend on remittances from their children. They go and work off farm, during the off season. So the COVID actually impacts even, farmers' incomes, during this time. So coming back to your question to, what can we do? I mean, of course, the best thing to do is, to stimulate demand, right? I mean, if there's demand, then of course, there will be purchasing power, there will be economic activities. But as we know, it's quite difficult to do that, which is why, it's still probably necessary for the government to intervene, either, giving, as we know, like soft loans to SMEs, which we now know that there are issues with that because banks would not lend to SMEs who are not very, credible. So again, we probably need other measures to support them.
In the broader picture, I mean, the world in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis was largely saved by China, right?
Right.
China was busy in building the bridges, airports, and with a lot of stimulus spending. But can we expect the same thing to happen this time around, given the fact that China is suffering from the pandemic as much as anybody else?
This time, I think we can expect less from China, though we still can expect from them, because when I look at the forecast of the global economy by either the World Bank or the IMF, the only big economy that is still registering positive growth this year is China. Every other country is contracting, -5, -8, US is -6% growth. China is going to register maybe half or 1% growth. So we can still rely because it's recovering faster than other countries. But again, it's not a strong recovery in China as much as we saw in 2008. And of course, with the protectionism and trade war that's going on in the world, we don't expect China to be able to recover as strongly as before.
Yeah, but something positive did come out from the conversation that Prime Minister Prayut had with President Xi Jinping the other night. And our leader asked China to buy more farm products from Thailand and to quickly return more Chinese investment to the country. And the answer from the Chinese counterpart was quite positive.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Actually, we already saw the last month's export numbers for Thai exports to other countries have all contracted except to China. So China, has been buying more products from Thailand because its economy has been recovering, right, and it's faster than other countries. So we're seeing that. But again, I think it will take time. Even for Chinese investments coming to Thailand, they would have to come physically as well, and we're not allowing so many of that. So it's again important whether the travel bubble is going to happen, when it's going to happen. That will also not only affect tourism but also business investments as well.
Any take for you regarding the ban of Huawei equipment in the UK and in the US, and probably the US will try to put more pressure on Thailand as well to try to ban Huawei equipment?
I think that's has been continuing for a while. I mean, that was already in the books, and we have expected that eventually Huawei will be banned in one or more of the Western countries, and I think we will feel that pressure eventually. We've already seen that the world is sort of dividing into two sides, quite separately, meaning that eventually in the world, I think technology will be divided into two camps, which is the US camp and the Chinese camp. So in the future, maybe when we carry telephones, mobile phones, we'll have to carry two of them. If we go to the West, we'll have to use one system.
Yeah.
When we go to China or Asia, we use another system. I think that's just how the world is going to be.
So we have to be careful to carry more weight from smartphone.
So what message would you have for ordinary citizens like us, to prepare for what's going to happen in the next few months? I hope it's going to be an encouraging one.
Yes, I think, we have to always be prepared. That's definitely, nothing is certain at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainties involved. We don't know if a second wave, of the pandemic is coming. So I think for laymen, people like us, it's very important that, of course, we're health-wise, we keep ourselves, very vigilant, and also we keep ourselves safe, from wearing, do we wear a mask? So that we should do. On our finances side, I think we should also be very careful and not overspend at this time, right? Because we have to save for rainy days if they happen. So I think that's what we should be doing. But of course, if we have enough to spend, do spend, because that actually helps
we have to
stimulate
contribute to the
demand.
economy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a dilemma, isn't it? We have to save and then try to spend to boost up economy at the same time.
That's right. If you have enough to spend, then please do.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Girida, for joining us and for your thoughts on the Thai economic recovery.
Very welcome. Thank you for having
Thank you.
me.
Yeah. And that's all from Thai PBS World tonight. And please stay tuned with us because we will be back with Tan Lok with Thai PBS World at around 8 p.m. But right now, thank you very much for watching and bye for now.
Thank you.
When the world is in crisis
การแก้ไขปัญหาโควิดถือเป็นวาระแห่งชาติ
and people are looking for hope and answers, Thai PBS World is there with you with the best minds of the day. Join us on Thai PBS World tonight, every weekdays at 7 p.m. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world.